Hi, everyone. First off, I'd like to welcome my fellow panelists, but I'd also like to welcome the listeners for tuning in today and joining us for this discussion around instant account funding and disbursements. We're really going to focus today on how instant account funding and disbursements can really help to build better financial futures for all involved. I think the discussion today will be really interesting because we're fortunate enough to have stakeholders from across the ecosystem on the panel, and we'll have a number of different perspectives represented. It should be a really good conversation. By way of introduction, my name is Ferron, and I head up digital partnerships and fintech for Visa Canada. I'm lucky enough to work with a number of big tech, fintech, and enablement platforms, both here in Canada, but also players from around the world. I get to see firsthand how instant account funding and disbursements are enabling new and innovative payment experiences in ways that literally just a few years ago, we couldn't have even imagined. As a result, we're seeing really positive outcomes to the financial lives of both consumers, but also the businesses that use these capabilities alike. As a reference point, just to tee us up, in 2021, Visa Canada saw that account funding transactions grew at over 60% year over year, and instant deposits to bank accounts from fintech programs in particular grew at about 76% year over year. So I think those two data points really clearly illustrate that there's consumer demand and providers are reacting by offering capabilities in their customer experiences, and customers are really benefiting from it. So with all that said, let's dig in and discuss the ways that instant account funding and disbursements from cards and to cards are really helping to positively impact customers and their businesses. So for today, I'll act as your moderator and I'll provide perspectives on behalf of the payment network, but I'll speak for Visa. I'm also pleased to be joined by industry experts from across the ecosystem. We've got coverage across enablers, banks, and fintechs. So let's hear from them. First off, we've got Manoj Verma, the Chief Revenue Officer and co-founder of TabaPay. Manoj, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure, thanks, Chris, and pleasure to join you guys on this panel. So TabaPay, we're an acquiring processor focused on serving fintechs with instant money movement solutions, money in, money out. We process for 16 banks in the US, and People's Trust is our bank in Canada. We serve over 2,000 fintechs on our platform, including some of the largest names like Wealthsimple here in Canada, some of the largest neobanks like Chime and Dave, and even some of the leading EWA players like Earnin and Albert, lenders like Upgrade and Lending Point, all with solutions that allow our partners to move money instantly. Fund or load an account in real time with zero risk, account-to-account money movements, P2P money movements, EWA advances, tip commission payouts, etc. That's what we do.
Thanks, Manoj. Next, we've got Shirley Hsu-Leftick, Director of Operations for Cash and Payments at Wealthsimple. Shirley, can you introduce yourself and tell us about Wealthsimple and the great stuff you guys are doing?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I would actually love to talk about Wealthsimple first, because it is just an incredible company that I'm really proud to be a part of. Wealthsimple began in 2014, and we started as an automated investment manager. But since then, we've really evolved with our products and service offerings to meet the financial need of Canadians, right? We now offer products ranging from self-directed securities, to trading, to cryptocurrency trading, to P2P money movement, even tax filing and professionally managed portfolios. But through all of that evolution, our mission has never changed, and that has always been, we are committed to providing Canadians with financial freedom, no matter who they are and how much they have. So it's really an exciting mission to be a part of. As for me, I currently head up our cash and payments operations team at Wealthsimple. And my focus and my team's focus is mainly on enabling fast and simple experiences for our customers through operational excellence. Prior to this, I spent a majority of my career delivering innovative payments products ranging from international payments to P2P to mobile payments. So I'm incredibly excited to be here today and joining this great panel.
Thanks, Shirley. We're excited to have you. Now, to make things even more complicated for our listeners, we have another Shirley, Shirley Matthew from People's Group. Shirley's the VP of Transformative Product Innovation. And I'm going to call it out right now. I'm going to try my best to, as moderator, to make sure that we all know which Shirley is talking and where they're from, but we'll have some fun with it, hopefully, and just ask the listener for patience as we go through it. Shirley, why don't you tell us about People's Group and what you're doing there?
Thanks, Chris. As Chris mentioned, my name is Shirley Matthew, and I'm the one from People's Group. So just to keep that straight. Tell you a little bit about People's Group. For those of you who don't know, we are the leading Canadian prepaid card issuer. And on top of that, our mission, we've been around for about 35 years, and our mission at People's Group is really about enabling the fintech community to be able to provide innovative financial services and products to their clients, both consumer and consumer clients. A little bit about myself. I've been participating in payments modernization for a number of years, since the beginning of my career. Shirley from Wealthsimple mentioned a couple of her mandate items across her career with respect to payments modernization. And I can say that I was in payments modernization before it was payments modernization. So from back in the early 80s, where my very first role, I participated in the launch of the very first point of sale terminal in Canada. So that is some time ago. And for those of you who don't remember or weren't alive yet, we used paper bulletins to look at what the bad cards were, and then we would use the phone if we had any concerns to get that authorization. So we've come a long way from that. And since then, I've been involved in a lot of industry initiatives and innovations in the payment space. Things like the launch of Interact Shared Cash, where you could use any ATM, not just your own banks. The launch of the direct payment service with Interact. I've also participated in e-commerce pilots before e-commerce was a thing. And also smart card, the launch of smart cards. I was part of the industry committee that launched smart cards in Canada. So all that to say, I've been involved in payments modernization and money movement for a very long time. And it's very exciting to participate in this conversation today. So thank you.
Thanks, Shirley. It's amazing how long we've been thinking about modernizing payments, isn't it? So with those introductions underway, let's get right into it and quickly start with this concept of instant. How should we be thinking about instant funding? But probably more importantly, how is it impactful to your businesses and to your users? So sticking with Shirley's, but switching over to Shirley from Wealthsimple, tell us about how important instant account funding is and I guess money movement is to your customer and to Wealthsimple's experience in general.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Chris. And I think to examine that, we kind of first have to look at what exactly does instant mean today? And then how has the pandemic accelerated things? And then look at, what is it that our customer want and what are they thinking? And so if we take a look at, what does instant mean today? What does instant account funding, instant money movement mean? It really means right now, and it means on my own terms, right? So it doesn't mean that my money will arrive in days. It doesn't even mean it will arrive in minutes. It means right now. And I think nowadays, as we kind of think about the word digital, we can really argue that the word digital is synonymous with the word instant. And then if we pivot to look at, how the pandemic has accelerated things, well, I think during the pandemic, we all saw that customers really started demanding and really wanting better ways of sending money, receiving money, spending and saving money. And they increasingly did so on digital first platforms. We saw at Wealthsimple, we saw a lot of customers flock to our products and service offerings, mainly due to, well, largely due to, transparency, accessibility, and ease of use, simplicity. But the main reason we saw customers come was because of our approach to finance through digital means and technology, right? And yeah, and I think, so all that to say is, if we really look at all of those points, it's fair for us to assume that customers want and even demand instant money movement, especially as the pandemic pushed them further into a digital first approach to finance. So I actually have a good example of a customer that we spoke to recently, and his story just really resonated with me. So this customer, I'll use the name Bob for him. Bob is an avid purchaser on Facebook Marketplace. So he buys a lot of things from Facebook Marketplace. Who doesn't nowadays, right? And Bob, we noticed, was using the Wealthsimple Cash product, which is our P2P, instant P2P service offering, to buy a lot of his things on Facebook Marketplace. And we asked Bob why. And Bob said, well, it's just so awkward to stand in front of a stranger and telling this person that, yeah, I've sent you the money, and standing there and the money doesn't arrive, and the stranger thinks that I didn't send the money. Well, yeah, Bob, I feel you. It is absolutely awkward. And I think we all are demanding instant money movement and funding, and we want our money on our own terms.
Shirley, I couldn't agree more. I think the data supports that as well, right? According to Payments Canada research, we're seeing a real decline in the use of sort of the old traditional means, cash and check. In the last year, they've been down 17 and 26% respectively. So that data is really supportive to that need for digital experiences and for instant experiences. Subsequently, we're also seeing a marked increase in online transfers, which are up like 48% year over year. So, those two, sort of a shrinking and a growth trend, really make it obvious that consumer demand is there and that customers are benefiting from it. I love the example. Switching Shirley's again, Shirley from People's, can you share with us what you're seeing and how important partnerships are across the ecosystem to really enable these experiences?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Definitely seeing the trends. We've been looking at the trends for a while, and it's great to see that cash and checks, some of those old, slow, and sometimes the expensive options of moving money are starting to dwindle away. It will be great when we can finally say there are no more checks in Canada, but I'm not sure I'll live that long. But it's that slow, expensive, and sometimes lacking of finality. That's what the problem is that people are trying to solve for, right? So, the one thing, if I want to break down the problem that we're trying to solve for, it's really about cash flow. I think cash flow has always been a challenge for businesses. We've talked a lot over the years about needing to improve cash flow for especially small businesses, but in general, businesses need cash flow. It's very important to them, and it can also be very important that instant cash flow it can be critically important for everyday Canadians as well. So just a couple examples from a business perspective. Rideshare driver. So rideshare driver, they drive someplace, they get the money for the ride. They need more money to then go and purchase their gas, which the prices are crazy these days. So they need more money to get their tank filled up so that they can go out and earn more money. So they really need to see that instant cash flow to help them manage their business. The other piece too is when we come to everyday Canadians, it's especially important for disaster victims, right? So at the end of 2021, early 2022, there was horrible flooding in the BC area. People, everyday Canadians, had to move out of their houses. They needed, money to buy gas. They needed to find lodging, find food that they had to leave behind. They had to replace things that they left behind. They had to replace things that the flood took away from them. So again, real important critical need for that fast cash flow. So, that's what we're seeing, and we've been working tirelessly to try to provide options for our partners who are the business. We really sell to businesses. We're not a household name for the consumers, but we sell to fintechs, and we partner with fintechs to be able to help them provide those services to their end customers. With respect to partnership, funnily, that you should ask me about that, because back on March 10th, I participated in a Payments Canada Payments Summit series called Partnering for Success. So I encourage you to take a look at that, because I'm not going to be able to cover off all of that topic right now, but it is in the Payments Canada YouTube channel. But the key takeaways there was that financial services is so complex, and there's so many players that you really, really need to partner to be successful in financial services. And it also, some of it is quite regulated, so not everybody can do every single part of that financial transaction. So you definitely need to partner. So the big takeaways really are that partnering is a cost-effective way to extend your resources. We all have limited resources, and we all only have 24 hours in a day. So what partnering does, it gives you more access to staff, specific types of staff, so maybe subject matter experts that you don't have on your own staff. It can also give you access to different technology that you might need, and also licensing, in case that there is licensing requirements and maybe you have it, or you don't have it, or you can't get it because you're not part of that licensing audience. So what winds up happening is you wind up manufacturing time when you use partnering. Basically, it gets you to market faster with these additional resources. So again, there's a whole summit session and a summit series session talking about partnering. So check it out on Payments Canada's YouTube channel. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to my partner, Manoj.
Thanks, Shirley. I meant those use cases were spot on, actually, and are supported by merchants who are actually using companies like TabaPay to actually embrace those solutions. So what we're seeing are many merchants who are in fact embracing and testing real-time movement of money. This was obviously exacerbated by the pandemic in terms of moving money outside of traditional channels, which no longer became traditional. As Shirley mentioned, checks continued to decline. Many bank branches were closed. People tried to avoid touching and holding cash. We saw contactless growing during this last couple of years. Instant is what we do. We're an instant money movement platform working with banks like People's, networks like Visa, so merchants like Wealthsimple can innovate and build products for their customers. We provide the plumbing to allow them to offer cutting-edge solutions so that their customers can solve what they're looking for. We do this in a very simple and seamless way. We offer a single unified API that's a merchant or fintech connects to, that allows them to leverage multiple payment rails from the various networks or other sources in one single connection that provides the lowest cost and have the ability to do multiple types of money movement options, whether you're pushing, you're pulling, whatever their customers desire. Instant money movement opens up a world of opportunity and new business opportunities for Canadian fintechs. We're US based, but we came to Canada, we're live in Canada, in large part to both support our US merchants who are interested in serving their Canadian customer base and Canadian merchants who were looking for cutting edge payment solutions that were harder to find or didn't exist, and allow them to target users in Canada based on many of the use cases they were developing or seeing in other parts of the world. This is a high value offer, and so far consumer choice is trending towards matching the US adoption rates that Chris had mentioned, which has continued to increase. We were pleasantly surprised with the demand for our services in Canada, with existing customers expanding to Canada, program managers, remittance companies, money service businesses, and lenders, and even local companies like Wealthsimple. The opportunity for Canadian companies to expand from Canada to the US is growing, but we'll talk a little more about that a little bit later on. Good news is our value proposition resonates across borders with better, faster, cheaper payments with multiple payment options, embedded banking partners, all connected with a single unified API with a global view of data and reporting.
Thanks, Manoj. I'm going to stick with you for a second. Can you go a little deeper on just the mechanics of that money movement, that like what it takes to light up a push payment, a pull payment, account funding, and that kind of stuff?
Sure. So account funding is the movement of money from one asset account to another, account to account, or me-to-me money movements. The equivalent of me moving money, say, from my Toronto Dominion account to my Wealthsimple account, as an example. The disbursement or push transaction is Visa Direct, and it's a real-time credit sent to a customer via their debit card. Think of the debit card as a window into your checking account. A pull transaction or a collection is a purchase transaction, and it's a reverse of a push transaction. This is a collection back of a loan or line of credit, a monthly rent payment or bill payment. So instead of using an EFT transaction back, I can do a real-time collection back of the amount that's owed. Merchants who want to leverage any of these solutions can connect to our APIs. As I mentioned, it's a single connection, allows you to toggle and get any of these features. TabaPay maintains direct connectivity to the networks, in this case, Visa Direct. We have bank relationships with People's Trust in Canada where the funds will originate or settle. We operate with 16 banks in the US, and we'll be lighting up other markets in Latin America later this year. So why are all three solutions important? It's important to work with the right partners, as Shirley had mentioned, to be able to find the right bank, the right enablers, and the right networks that are going to be able to support your use cases. Use cases are not always singular, and certainly with fintech solutions, we see multiple use cases being needed. The ability to load funds or do bill pay, collect a subscription, enable P2P, send funds back. Merchants want options to service their customers, and Visa Direct is an option to support that. Again, money movement for the ability to do pushes and pulls, example, Toronto Dominion to your Wealthsimple account, there and back again. Thanks, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks, Manoj. Shirley from People's, obviously the acquiring bank is really important in this payment experience. Can you just talk about the role that the acquirer plays here?
Absolutely. So as Manoj mentioned, People's, that we work with TabaPay for their Visa Direct offering here in Canada, and the way the Visa Direct model works is that an acquiring bank is required. There are rules within the Visa regulations that require the money to be held by an acquiring bank. So that is why the bank becomes very important, and you must have an acquirer in the equation. And that's really about safeness and soundness of the payment. But I'll tell you a little bit about how we got into it. So we had seen, as you talked about, Chris, there's been a growing interest in money movement, making it faster, and Visa Direct was one of those options. And aligned with our vision to facilitate access to financial services, we were People's was the first Canadian acquirer to bring Visa Direct directly to fintechs. So we service originators, so merchants, to be able to originate those transactions. And we, like TabaPay, we have focused on easy integration and giving them quick time to market, right? So APIs are very important in our solution as well. So we do service originators as an acquirer, but we also, like in our situation with TabaPay, we provide our license basically. So we have the license as an acquirer because only certain types of organizations can be acquirers. So as the license holder of an acquirer, we can then offer sponsorships to partners like TabaPay, and again, going through that whole partnering proposition and trying to figure out who the best partners are for us. We bring that to the table. In addition to offering Visa Direct, we also offer, because we know, we talked a little bit about options earlier. We know that people want options, right? So merchants want options, and consumers want options. So it's not just about the instant payments, which are great, but there's some use cases that don't require it to be that quick. They might want a even cheaper solution maybe than the speed. So we offer different types of money movement that our clients can choose what suits their particular use case. And likewise, the fact that payments modernization continues to happen, things continue to be offered in the marketplace, and we continue to innovate. So it's not just here's your menu for today. It's an evolving situation.
Thanks, Shirley. Let's talk about use cases. We've heard from enablers. Let's talk a little bit about the variety of use cases that we're seeing in market. Shirley from Wealthsimple, tell us about how Wealthsimple uses instant money movement in your offering.
Yeah. So let's, I mentioned the Wealthsimple Cash App a little bit earlier, which is our instant P2P money movement, where our customers can send, receive, request, or spend funds instantly with their family and friends. And it's just a really simple way of splitting a bill instantly or paying your friends back instantly. And our customers really love this instant P2P experience, but we couldn't offer the same experience, seamless instant experience, when it came to funding their account or withdrawing from their account. So simply put, without access to payments rails for a regulated fintech like Wealthsimple, or the use of national real-time rails, our product just simply cannot integrate seamlessly with our clients' other FIs. And that directly impacts our ability to conduct business. But more importantly, it prevents our clients from using their money the way they want to use it. So that's a direct use case. And we know that Wealthsimple cares a lot about the customer experience. We want to give our customers exactly what they want. So we actually partner with very important partners like TabaPay, Peoples, and Visa, like Shirley and Manoj and Chris mentioned, to give our customers this instant ability to fund their accounts. And now in a perfect world, we would love the option to be able to connect directly, but through important partners like TabaPay and Peoples, we were able to get this service offering out the door very quickly, very easily, and very efficiently. Some of the points that Shirley and Manoj raised earlier. And we've seen great adoption. Since it rolled out just last month, we actually saw adoption grow 3x what it was. And that's really telling of just, the rapid adoption is really telling of, customers have been wanting this. They need it, they want it, they demand it. What about you,
Awesome.
Chris? What are you saying?
Yeah, you're spot on. I think that like consumer use case makes a lot of sense, Shirley. Just like flipping it from consumer to a business application, we're seeing a lot of use in gig economy, where we hear like really positive results when a gig economy company wants to pay their drivers or their gig workers. When they're registered for real-time payments, those that are registered are using instant payments or instant payouts more than one time a week, which is pretty impressive. But I think the more impressive number is that when they are registered for real-time payments, they're also 80% more likely to show up for their shifts than drivers that are not registered for that instant funding. So they're using it a lot, and they're more consistent and more profitable to the gig economy company. I think it's that expectation, and to your point earlier, Shirley, the choice that's become really important, and drivers, similar to your customers, want the choice, and they want to use their money how they want, and they like the technology that enables it for them. Manoj, you're lighting up all kinds of experiences and enabling lots of these payments. Can you tell us a little bit about other things you're seeing in the market? Sure.
Certainly the use cases that we're seeing in Canada are mirroring actually what some of the companies are doing south of the border. EWA is a very, very large category, and both Shirley and you, Chris, has raised that the fact that an Uber driver or gig employee worker can get paid after they complete the job. So we're seeing a tremendous advancement both in either earned wage or early wage access, where lenders may step in the middle to be able to give an advance to a gig worker or to an employee, for that matter, on their funds that they're going to be earning over the next couple of weeks. Account funding is a very, very large one. So this is the ability to move money from one of your asset accounts to another asset account, whether it's moving in a simple scenario where you want to move it to the wallet, you want to be able to do a stock transaction, you want to be able to load funds into a wallet for a disbursement on a remittance provider as an example, or into a neobank. Whatever the use cases are that the fintechs are coming up with, its ability to move funds in real time. Lending is, we're seeing a tremendous growth in that as well. So these are lenders that want to be able to disperse a loan or line of credit in real time, 24/7. And they may want the ability to collect back that loan as well to be able to fund back the loan to parity. Tipping is another large one that we're starting to see growth in. So instead of employees having to wait for a week or 2 weeks to be able to get their funds on from tips, they're able to get that at the end of their shift. And B2B as well, the ability to sort of collect back on accounts receivable in a faster manner and then be able to repatriate those funds as appropriate. We're seeing a lot of Canadian businesses that are starting to scale in Canada and then are looking to come into the US, and then vice versa, where a lot of the businesses are coming up here. So it's an exciting time, and we think that we're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of the number of use cases that we're going to see and adaptations that are going to occur in local markets.
I think we tend to agree, Manoj. We're at the tip of the iceberg and exciting times ahead. Shirley, from Peoples, you're also an enabler. What are you guys seeing?
So, what they said, basically. So lots of similarities with what we've just heard from both Manoj and Shirley, but a couple of ones that I'd call out that haven't been discussed yet are insurance claims. See a lot of interest in delivering insurance claims. And a big one for Ontario is on April 4th, Ontario launched the iGaming, their new iGaming structure. And so iGaming winnings is another potential for this type of a service. The other piece too is collections, right? So big on collections as well, and people wanting to send money home, right? So outside of Canada as well. That's an interesting use case.
It's probably 3 use cases that are a whole other panel, Shirley, which is interesting, and we should do that at some point. But now, guys, a discussion around account funding and money movement, it wouldn't be complete without also some comments on risks and the risks associated with the transaction, and then of course the best practices to limiting exposure. Shirley from Wealthsimple, I'm sure you've got some learnings. You've been in this business for a bit. Would love to hear some of the learnings that you have and sort of what that experience has been early days here.
Yeah. I think you can't talk about instant without risks, right? And I think anytime there's money movement, there's fraud risks. And that is especially true in instant. And so, at Wealthsimple, I spoke about how much we care about the customer experience. It's our everything. And that customer experience also means safekeeping of client funds and assets. So when we rolled out the instant account funding with Visa Direct through TabaPay and Peoples, we also introduced 3DS as an extra method and layer of protection of our clients' assets and funds. We saw it as an absolutely necessary friction point in the customer experience to protect their assets and funds. So I think it's really important. Shirley from Peoples, do you want to speak about in 3DS and the importance of it?
We're going to start the alphabet soup. So 3DS, 3D Secure. That was a service that was launched about 15 years ago. And to be very honest, it was very clunky when it was first launched. Personally, I couldn't remember my password to get through a transactions with 3DS in the early days. And luckily, the industry has evolved since then. So it's a lot easier to use. There's a lot of risk-based authentication that's happening. So it's no longer where people are stumped in the middle of their transaction and have to stop. And there was a great concern about shopping carts being abandoned in the old days. Now it's a lot easier. Only a small percentage of transactions actually are stepped up to somebody having to do something on their laptop or on their computer or on their mobile device to finish that transaction, to authenticate themselves. So it's great that that's in place. And the thing that 3DS or 3D Secure brings to these transactions are in fact card not present transactions. If you look at the traditional merchant acquiring days, and those have been fraught with fraud. And so 3DS was used to try to prevent some of that fraud, or at least if it couldn't prevent it, it would provide an authentication layer that helped to provide protection for the merchant. So it's liability protection with that extra layer of authentication. So yeah, and if you're doing pool transactions, especially, very important if you're going to be doing that to use 3D Secure.
Awesome. Thanks, Shirley. Team, we've got about 10 minutes left, so we're going to start doing some rapid rounds here. I want to spend a minute on the regulatory landscape, and then a minute on what a fintech should do, or any company should do as they want to get into the payment space. So, Shirley from People's, tell us just about considerations in the regulatory landscape.
Absolutely. So I'll take part of my minute to just quote Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. And I offer and criminal activity to that list." And that is really what gives rise to the regulatory environment, right? And as I said before, it's a bit of an alphabet soup. So regulatory landscape in Canada: KYC, AML, ATF, FinTrack, PCML, TFA. I think I got those in the right order. Anyway, FinTrack is the regulating body. That's what you need to know. And Shirley mentioned earlier that they're a registered money services business. So FinTrack does require some folks, some companies to register. So one thing you want to know is whether or not you need to register. So that's an important thing for you to think about as you're going down this road. The other thing is, the most important piece of legislation you need to know about is that PCMLTFA, which is Proceeds of Crime, Money Laundering, and Terrorist Financing Act, and the associated regulations, which there are many. So the due diligence piece of that act is really the KYC, know your customer, your AML, and your ATF screening. And then it includes requirements around monitoring and reporting, that they can keep track of what's going on and hopefully fight that criminal activity. The regulations evolve. They just can't stay still because the criminals don't sit still. And the last set of mandates came out, were effective rather, April 1st of 2022. So know your regulations.
And know your acronyms. Thank you, Shirley. Manoj, let's imagine I'm a fintech. I want to get into instant money movement. What do I do? Where do I start?
That's a great question. So you want to work with a company like TabaPay. We maintain direct connections to Visa and 13 other networks. We provide services for debit, credit, RTP in the US, EFT, ACH, all through one single API for both Canada, US, and other geographies. So it's important to be able to choose a partner that's directly connected, hopefully directly connected, so that you can extract as many costs out of the equation as you're going to be either stomaching the costs or passing those costs to your customers. So the more costs you can eliminate from the system allows you a little bit more flexibility. Again, one API for us allows you to serve multiple geographies, and we'll set you up with different sponsor banks. We solve the hardest part for the fintechs, which is the payment side through our connections. And then on the banking side, with our relationship with People's Trust, with a relationship with other banks in the United States, should that be part of your focus of your business. We're laser focused on fintech, so we can solve any fintech or money movement use case that you're thinking about, whether it's pushing or pulling or multiple options of those two use cases. And as Shirley mentioned, we also have a dedicated compliance team that works very closely with our banking partners to ensure that the use cases that you're going to put in place are going to be compliant with both the bank as well as compliant with the networks, and then the rules that the various government entities put in place. So lots of ways to do it, but we're happy to support any fintech.
Awesome. Thanks, Manoj. I'm going to turn to the Shirleys for one last comment each. We're down. I'm getting the flag. We're down to like 5 minutes. We gotta go. But Shirley from Wealthsimple, final thought.
Yeah, I think we heard customer want this, customer need it. There's a lot of use cases, great examples. We've seen great adoption when we introduce it, and Wealthsimple is all about caring and delivering to customers what they want, and doing it even better. And so, we're going to figure out how to make instant even better. But today it's about delivering this service to our customers.
Awesome. Shirley from Peoples.
So wrapping it up, again, options, faster, that's and cash flow, right? So at Peoples, we're focused on enabling our business clients to provide that product and service to their consumers and business clients as well, really improving the financial health of their customers. And we are always trying to innovate and adopt new services to be able to enable others to provide services, and we continue to want to partner. So consider us if you're an originator or if you're someone who wants to enable other partners. We're there for you.
Great. To the listeners, thanks for tuning in. To the panelists, thanks for all the work and all the thoughts here. I think there's just so many different ways that we can use money movement that really enable other financial experiences. And so lots of exciting stuff. I know the folks from Taba and Peoples and Visa would all love to talk to you if you're interested. And obviously Wealthsimple would love to service you as a customer. So thanks for your time today, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks everybody. Thanks for having us. Take care.